This is a special meeting of the Police Oversight Board. We're here to deal with a single issue.
I'm going to read our mission statement, which is advancing constitutional policing and accountability for APD and the Albuquerque community.
Thank you, Mr. Waits. Approval of the agenda is moot because it's a one-item agenda and we don't get to add things. Public comments. Mr. Goodman, please. Or Ms. Goodman. Sorry, I can't read the handwriting very well.
I gave you a list of questions that I had that I'm going to send you an email tomorrow to kind of reframe the questions a little bit so it's clear as to what I'm asking. But I just have some questions that maybe you'll consider including in your report to the DOJ after this meeting. One of them is there an audit trail log of the camera? There's been discussion about the audit trail of a file, which is a video, but I've not heard any discussion about the logging or trail of the camera itself, which would include when it's being deactivated and activated. And another question is, if the video is not provided, is the fact that it was redacted part of the response for a public records request? If the video is turned off, is it required to be documented in the police report, the CAD report, or other public record, including the reason for deactivating? If a higher-ranking officer orders a subordinate to turn off the camera, is it documented in the police report, CAD, or other public record by the higher-ranking officer? What public record from the camera's audit confirms the integrity of all video and camera deactivation and redactions? And when would it be appropriate for the sergeant who was directing the officer's use of camera to not be included in the police report or CAD indicating that direction? So I'll send you a follow-up, and then you can hopefully consider those for questions to be added to your report. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul Heidel, maybe?
Exactly right, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Heidel. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. I'm with the ACLU. I'm the new criminal justice advocate, and just wanted to say thank you to the the Police Oversight Board for taking a look at this issue tonight on behalf of the ACLU and APD Board. I wanted to say thank you, and also just to point out that in the Dr. James Ginger's fourth report, that this particular portion of the report as it pertains to the POB was certainly one of the highlights of that fourth report, so just wanted to commend you for that work. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Any other public comment? Okay. So we're meeting here today to discuss the possibility of an investigation regarding allegations of video tampering by Albuquerque Police Department personnel. And for anybody who hasn't seen the news, a former APD employee has created and signed an affidavit, and in that affidavit there are allegations that the videos that APD officers create and that videos that we use to do our work are either missing or tainted. There are allegations that police officers withheld, destroyed, or altered physical evidence relevant to investigations. Those investigations include police shooting cases and other serious criminal offenses. There are allegations that the chief or deputy chiefs either participated in this or directed it or knew about it or should have known about it. And so that's what we're here to discuss today. We'll wait for the lag to go. Mr. Harness, do you have any comments before we open the discussion with the board?
No, we are aware of the affidavit from Mr. Chavez, and we would defer to the board's discussion and decisions.
Okay, thank you. Board members? to discuss here?
Well, I'd like to make a comment. You know, our job is to review those investigations and to assess the quality of those investigations and make recommendations to the chief. So I think it's very important that we get good information and good feedback from our CPO. And you know, to me, that's more important than anything that we do.
There's another issue too, which would be tampering with evidence. Isn't that what we're really talking about? And that, I think, in New Mexico is a felony to be tampering with evidence. I don't know, man.
It's certainly a criminal offense.
Criminal offense for sure.
Mr. Jackson?
My practice is civil. I'm not aware of the degree of the crime, but I am aware that it is a crime.
Okay. And obviously, we have no idea what the veracity is of the allegations that are made. We don't know if everything that Mr. Chavez is saying is truthful or not. You know, I would certainly hope that it's not the case, but these allegations have to be taken seriously. This isn't just something that we can wait for somebody else to do something about.
I agree.
Did anyone else want to make some general comments? Dr. Ring?
Yes, ma'am. It appears that the veracity of APD is in question here, and obviously APD cannot investigate itself, and so we've heard some contradictory statements from the city attorney that first APD was going to investigate itself, and second that they had done so and found nothing, and then thirdly that no, they weren't going to investigate themselves, but an independent investigator was to be appointed. I question whether or not any of those avenues makes any sense at this point in time, and I'm wondering if there's any entity in New Mexico that we could trust to do this, and so have we considered the possibility of asking the FBI to deal with this investigation?
And I think that's exactly what we're here to discuss. You know, this investigation is of a highly technical nature. Somebody is going to need to be independent from the police department and the city, and in my opinion, the city attorney. Anybody who's hired by the city attorney is going to have some allegiance to the city attorney, and depending on that person and their expertise and the relationship, they could be extremely independent or they could be not particularly independent if they're hired by the city attorney. And that's no slight against anybody that the city attorney might hire. There's just only so much independence that can occur when the city attorney is defending the police department and also hiring the investigator. The technical aspects of this are we're dealing with Taser and their electronics. We're dealing with evidence.com and the computer electronics. I would think that anybody that does this investigation needs to have expertise in computer forensics. They need to have expertise specific to the Taser system in computer forensics. The only folks in New Mexico that I'm aware of that fit into that category would be either the FBI and of course the DOJ directing them. And I think the New Mexico State Police has expertise in that area as well. They have a public integrity investigative group who might be able to handle that. So, you know, I appreciate your comments, Dr. Ring. I think that's exactly why we're here is to discuss some recommendations.
Quick question. To the FBI, doesn't the FBI usually work in conjunction with a local law enforcement agency or I mean, I don't understand all. I mean, would the FBI by itself come in to work with us, or would they have to be working with APD or this state police or some other law enforcement agency?
Well, if the FBI chose to take on this investigation, they would investigate it themselves and they would direct their own investigation. They would have to interface with APD, obviously, to get some of the materials and so on. But you know, APD would not be directing their actions, and the same with the state police. You know, we have had instances recently where the state police have done an investigation on APD and charged an officer, asked the district attorney to charge an officer with time card fraud. So, we know that these investigations can happen from the outside and that they can be well done.
I was just wondering if they needed another agency, who would it be? But that's not the law as far as you understand, okay.
Well, and I think, our place is not to direct the investigation. I think our place here is to look at making recommendations. And our recommendations could simply include requesting that the DOJ and the FBI or state police or some other agency that has the qualifications step in and do a criminal investigation.
So who would we make that recommendation to? I guess that's the other question.
Right. Well, I think our recommendations are, going to go to the folks they always go to. They're going to go to the chief and the mayor and city council and the monitor and Judge Brack and the Department of Justice. The list of parties to the lawsuit are all the same people who are concerned about this. We need a mic.
Well, yeah, I have one, but that's a story. So,
I think you're not alone.
I'm in. Sorry. Once we make the recommendation to all the parties in the lawsuit, I'm just curious then what entity decides what would be done and how to pay for it.
Well, I think, the Department of Justice and the FBI would decide if this is an investigation they're going to take on, and the taxpayers pay for it. And the same with the state police. If the state police, for some reason, wanted to step in and do this investigation, they would be self-directed, and the, taxpayers who pay their salaries would be fronting the cost for that investigation. This sort of breaks down into two different areas. One is a criminal investigation and one is an administrative investigation. So I think I'd like to sort of address them in turn. So we're talking first about the criminal investigation. And I think what I'm hearing from the board is that we would like to request that the Department of Justice and the FBI, or if they are not interested in taking it, the state police will come in and do an independent investigation of these allegations. Is that what I'm hearing?
I believe you stated that very accurately for me,
Okay, well, I'll make an emotion then.
and I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Mr. Harness, do you have anything for us on that before we move on to talk about the administrative investigation?
Well, no, the settlement agreement does not contemplate this situation under paragraph 188. So this is beyond what the settlement agreement contemplates. As far as any sort of administrative investigation that we have at the agency, we're suspending everything pending hopefully an independent criminal review.
Okay. There's a past precedent with the Independent Review Office where Mayor Chavez, I think, had previously requested that the IRO do an independent investigation without a citizen complaint. That happened in 2005, I believe, and the IRO office looked into allegations around tampering with evidence and stolen evidence from the evidence room. And the then IRO office made conclusions, and it was shipped off and ultimately not criminally prosecuted. So there's a precedent for the mayor coming in and asking what would now be the CPOA office to do the administrative portion of this investigation. It gets a little complicated because the CPOA office has received citizen complaints concerning some of these same cases. So they would have to do an investigation to start with, and then they would have to circle back around and finish their investigations regarding the individual incidents after they perhaps said that the videos that we would be relying on are no good. Obviously, we don't know what their investigation would say. So that's one possibility, would be to ask the CPOA office to take that on. They don't have, that I'm aware of anyway, the in-house computer expertise for that. They would have to hire somebody. The other possibility would be to ask the city to hire an independent investigator to do just the administrative portion. And I don't know if that's what the city attorney was talking about when she said they wanted to hire somebody.
Yeah.
Right, because, the city may well wish to hire someone to do the administrative investigation, and they would have to have the kind of expertise that we're talking about. Mr. Harness, what are your feelings about the CPOA considering taking this on as opposed to having an independent investigator who's hired by the city to do the administrative piece?
Well, I think that the questions that we would have to answer from the agency standpoint are beyond our capabilities as it relates to the forensic video analysis that would be required. And I think that we would be best served to wait for the criminal review to take place before an administrative review commenced related, because we do have not only a civilian complaint, but we also have the officer-involved shooting that are before us. And I think that it's best that if it's determined that the CPOA is to take it on, that we would have to hire or have some technical expert come in and really do the investigation, because it's beyond what we could handle in-house.
Okay.
Question. As I'm listening to all this about the criminal investigation, the administrative investigation, and then going back to our previous board meetings and our time limits, I'm assuming that there's going to be some timing involved with this investigation, because if they're doing a criminal, if an entity is doing a criminal investigation, and then it comes up to us to do an investigation that uses the same video for, let's say, an officer-involved shooting, and we have a time period, is that going to outlast our time period, or I guess I'm not understanding the mechanics of that.
Well, that's an excellent question. Mr. Harness, do you want to respond to that?
Well, as it relates to the officer-involved shooting case that is related to allegations in the affidavit, that case has findings in it already. And but it also has attached to it a waiver of the administrative review and time periods signed off in a memorandum of understanding from the police union. There were in our preliminary investigation, we discovered that there were 3 target officers, and there were findings in that case already. But we thought that it should be expanded, and we do believe that the criminal review is warranted for officers beyond those named in the administrative investigation.
Okay. So the answer is it depends?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Director Harness, if we have other officer-involved shootings, are we now questioning the evidence that we have? I've gone in and looked at video and listened to CDs and so forth of statements. I have no way of knowing whether those have been redacted or not. Is any evidence that we have in officer-involved shootings reliable? Is this just limited to one case, or Are we looking at everything we have?
Chair Moore, Board Member Ring, the affidavit from Mr. Chavez references, I believe, 2 cases specifically, but it does call into question the veracity of any of the videos that are being reviewed. The chief, in front of the city council, made the point a week ago Monday that there is an original video that is uploaded to evidence.com, and that anything that comes from evidence.com that is reviewed is actually a copy. But the questions are unanswered at this point as to if Mr. Chavez's affidavit has validity. It then brings into question everything that is viewed by this body.
I was afraid of that.
Right, and only a small percentage of our cases really involve videos.
Correct.
But some of the most important ones involve videos.
Exactly.
And obviously, we want to make sure that we're getting those right. So it sounds like the CPOA office does not have the in-house capability of doing this. So I guess my thought would be that we ask that the city hire a investigator to do the administrative investigation that does have the capability of doing this, both the taser expertise as well as the computer forensic expertise, and ask that they look into that, and perhaps the CPOA and Mr. Harness can sort of look over their shoulder during this investigation to make sure that they feel like it's independent. Other thoughts?
Chair Moore, at this use of force summit where I am in investigators fashionable, there is a video, there is a forensic video analyst doing a presentation tomorrow, so I can certainly make contact with that individual to see if perhaps he might be available to us.
Okay.
Chairman Moore?
Yes.
If the city is going to put out an RFP for someone with that type of expertise, then maybe we could suggest that someone from CPOA be on the committee to determine.
On the ad hoc committee?
Mhm.
Are you volunteering? Okay, that would be excellent. So I think that is something that we would request as part of this. An independent investigation, somebody hired by the city, overseen at least not just by the city attorney office, that the CPOA would have some role in oversight of that administrative investigation, and also that we would have a role in the ad hoc committee in selecting the investigator.
Exactly.
Did you just move that?
I will make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion about that? Mr. Harness, do you have any other discussion, sir?
Chair Moore, no, I do not.
Okay, thank you. Then all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Very well. So the other piece of this, obviously, we don't have any idea what the truth of this is. We don't know how these investigations are going to come out, as is almost always the case. We don't know what we don't know. I'm very concerned that if these allegations are true, in the meantime, we have a chief and a deputy chief who, the way I read it, stand accused of wrongdoing. So I'm not sure what to do about that. I'm not even precisely sure what to recommend about that. If it turns out that there is indeed wrongdoing, either criminal or administrative, I think we would probably be meeting again and asking that those people voluntarily step down. We're not there yet, I don't think. But it does bother me that we're in this position where the chief stands accused of this, and we don't know if it's true, we hope it's not, but the chief is also in the position to direct the actions of staff.
Chair Mohr, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I don't think it's our position to make that determination.
I agree. It's just I think it's a concern that we want to voice, but without necessarily making a motion at this time. Anything else, Dr. Brown? Yes, Dr. Garcia.
I think that, even though I agree with Mr. Reed, that it's probably not within our purview to do that. It is, we are the oversight board. We hold the public trust. And I think that the good thing about having this come to us is not that we're going to determine one way or another, but what we are going to do is set a framework for our police to be above reproach at the end of the tunnel. And so, even though it's very sad, and we don't know if it's true or not true, what it does give us the opportunity is to forge a framework that we can proceed forward and we can defend later.
Yes.
And can you just maybe explain a little bit, Dr. Garcia, about the framework that you're maybe suggesting? Or do you have something in mind?
Well, some of the issues aren't addressed in our settlement agreement. Some of the things we don't know, as Chair Mohr said, we do not know what we don't know. But we weren't expecting to have to face an issue like this, where someone is accusing the rank, the command of our police force. But now that we're here, I think that gives it, the opportunity and the chaos is that we'll know now how to approach something like this if it should ever come to our door again.
The other thing I want to say is that it's tragic that the administration and the chief of police is, because of these allegations, are coming under fire, sort of say that. Maybe I'm naive, but I guess I do understand that it could be an issue because of their positions, but I also would like to point out that hopefully people are still innocent until proven guilty. And just I'd like us to maybe keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think we all hope that it's not true, but we also can't pretend that that the allegations haven't been made. Okay, anything else that anybody wishes to cover while we're all here that's having to do with this issue? Mr. Harness, do you have anything else?
Chair Mohr, I do not.
Do we need to take just a yes vote, and we've done it twice, or do we need to have a roll call? I just was wondering that.
I think we voted on our two issues requesting a criminal and an administrative investigation.
And that's adequate?
I think so. Our
That's all I'm
attorney is
asking.
nodding, so I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay. I would entertain motions to adjourn.
I would so move.
A second.
Okay, any discussion? Anyone have anything else? Very well, all those in favor of adjournment, please say yes.
Yes.
Thank you. We are adjourned.